Welcome to the Speculative Fiction Writing Made Simple podcast, and to my twice-a-month segment, Ask Me Anything Thursday, where I answer a writing question in 10 minutes or less. Well, probably 10 minutes or less. We'll see how it goes. Today's question is from Aiden, who asks, why are agents rejecting my novel? Okay, let's dive into this incredibly important question. First off, Aiden, let me say that I can't possibly fully answer that question without first reading your entire novel, reading your query letter, and even getting a look at the exact list of agents who you queried. However, I can give you a little insight into the biggest reasons why most of the writers who come to me with this problem were rejected. Okay, to understand why you are being rejected, it's best for me to break my answer down into how you are being rejected. Scenario 1. Let's imagine that you're either not hearing back from agents at all, or you're being rejected with form rejection letters. You know, those rejection letters that have not been personalized to you at all. It's clear that they're just a form that's being sent out to anyone who's being rejected. Well, ugh, this is the worst feeling because, let's face it, you've spent months, probably years, maybe even decades writing your novel. You've put your love and your time and your sweat and your tears into it. And when you get rejected, you don't get any feedback at all. So it leaves you wondering what the heck the agent didn't like about your novel. It leaves you with literally no direction to follow. So, why does this type of rejection occur? The truth is, it can occur for almost any reason because agents are busy people. They receive hundreds or maybe even thousands, depending on the agent, of queries per month, and they just can't possibly personally reject every single one of those that they don't want to represent. They just wouldn't have enough hours in the day. And they actually have no professional obligation to tell you why they don't want to represent your novel. However, I'd say that the simplest explanation into why you got this type of a rejection letter is that you wrote a bad query letter. Trust me, when I say that, I say it with tons of compassion because I know how incredibly hard it is to write a good query letter. Which, of course, naturally leads to the question, if query letters are so important for getting agents to want to represent your novel, how do you write a good one? Well, that is a loaded question, which is why I have decided to record an entire podcast episode about it in a couple of weeks. So keep checking back. However, I will give you a couple of pointers right now of things that you should be looking for in your query letter to know that it really does meet agents' expectations. First, it should be of a reasonable length, meaning no more than 300 to 400 words total. Also, it needs to include really good comp titles for your novel so that agents can see where your story fits in the marketplace. Next, you need to make sure that your novel demonstrates a word count that meets genre and age category conventions and expectations. Meaning, if you wrote a YA fantasy novel that's topping out at 200,000 words, there's a problem, right? Agents are not going to be able to sell that novel to publishers because publishers know that they won't be able to print and sell that to readers at a reasonable price. So how do you know what the right word count would be? Well, if I were you, I would just Google word count ranges for different genres and age categories, and that should help sort it all out. And finally, you need to make sure that the book blurb paragraph in your query letter excites agents by framing your story in the best light possible. One thing I'd like to highlight here is that query letters should not just be a list of themes or a list of random events and situations that you hope might spark interest. Instead, this paragraph should have concrete plot points, and there should be a logical cause and effect trajectory between them. Okay, let's dive into rejection scenario number 2. Let's imagine you're getting more personalized rejections. Rejections like, There was a lot about your submission we liked. However, we didn't feel passionate about it in the way that would allow us to be the best champion for your work. Or, even though I found great qualities within your query and synopsis, I just didn't fall in love with the sample pages the way I would need to in order to champion this project. In cases like these, it means that your premise is strong and your query letter is good, but something was missing from the pages themselves. I know, you're like, Heather, how can I possibly know what was missing from my pages? Well, I can't tell you for sure what's missing from your pages without reading them, but I can give you a list of the top 3 things that are likely responsible for the rejection. And I say that because I see these things missing from so many writers' first pages, ones who are just coming to me as new writers and ones who have gotten all the way to the querying stage. First, the voice itself might not be compelling enough. Literary agents aren't just looking for a well-written story. They want a voice that grabs readers and won't let go. But what exactly is voice anyway? Well, voice is how you tell the story. Your prose style, the words you choose, the rhythm of your sentences, the way you structure paragraphs. It's how you phrase things. It's how you describe characters, how you convey emotions, interiority, and atmosphere. It's also how you weave in backstory, foreshadowing, and literary devices. It's not enough for your writing to simply be clear. It has to be utterly captivating. I know, no pressure, right? But here's the thing, and it's kind of bad, but it's also kind of good because it gives us hope. Voice isn't something that appears overnight. It grows from experience, trial and error, and intentional reading. Many writers struggle to develop a distinct voice in their first or second novel. It takes time to refine your craft and discover how to make your words sing on the page. Lately, I've seen writers ask if they can become great novelists without being avid readers. And the answer to this, in my opinion, is a resounding no. You need to read, not just to know what kinds of books are being published right now, but also with intentionality, studying how great authors craft compelling prose, how they draw readers in, how they create unforgettable voices. This is why so many authors only get offers of representation after writing and querying several novels. Those early novels might not land an agent, but they teach invaluable lessons about craft, voice, and storytelling. Every novel you write, even the ones that don't sell, actually make you a far better writer. So if your pages aren't quite landing yet, don't get discouraged. Keep writing, keep reading, keep refining your craft. The right story with the right voice will come. Okay, let's keep going. The second reason why your novel might not be landing an agent is that the stakes aren't clear. Readers need to know what's at risk, what your protagonist stands to lose if they fail, and what's driving them to push forward. It's not enough to simply know what your protagonist is trying to do. We as readers need to understand why it matters to them. What's personally at stake for them? Is their goal just about, say, survival, or is it tied to some deeper emotional wound? What will happen if they fail? What's the worst possible outcome? And why does it feel urgent that they avoid it? If your story lacks clear, compelling stakes, readers and agents won't feel invested. But don't get me wrong, stakes aren't just about life or death scenarios. They're about emotional investment. Even in quieter, character-driven stories, stakes need to be deeply personal and connected to what the protagonist wants most, but is terrified of losing. Now, if you go back and look at your opening scenes and chapters, and you notice that there aren't really any stakes that you've clearly given on the page, one of the things that you need to do is go back and infuse that opening with stakes that feel compelling. The third problem that might be holding your novel back and preventing agents from falling in love with it is a lack of interiority and emotional depth. Interiority is simply your protagonist's internal world. It's what they're thinking, how they're making sense of events, what they expect to happen, what they fear might happen. It's literally the lens through which they interpret their world. Emotionality is how they're feeling, the raw, visceral responses to what's unfolding around them. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that writers tend to focus on only external events, treating storytelling like a video camera capturing action. But here's the truth. Readers don't care what happens unless they know how the protagonist thinks and feels about what happens. That's what makes a story real and relatable. That's what keeps readers twisting in their seats, fully immersed in the protagonist's journey. If your story isn't landing, take a step back and ask, am I showing my protagonist's thought process? Do their emotions feel vivid and authentic? Have I given readers a window into their fears, expectations, and struggles? Because in the end, it's not just about the exciting events on the page. It's actually about the character experiencing those events and how they're reacting both externally and internally. That, my friends, is what makes a story unforgettable and publishable. Okay, that's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining me for Ask Me Anything Thursday. I hope this episode has been really helpful. And of course, if your novel has been rejected by agents and you're super frustrated and ready to move forward to the next level, I'm here and I would love to help. So please go ahead and sign up for a program clarity chat. The link is right in the show notes. It's totally free, and together we can just explore if book coaching is right for you and your novel. Until next time, keep writing, keep dreaming, and remember, the world needs your stories right now, so don't you dare give up on your novel or yourself. Talk soon.